Hello, big, beautiful world. Well, we've had some big news this week. I'm sure you all know it. You've got the MicroProse B17. Is it a F or a G? I think it's a... I'm going to go for a G with the ball turret beneath it. Personally, I preferred the C and D with the side blisters. I thought they looked amazingly cool in their day. Very, very ahead of the curve. Where are we? This significant spot upon which we are standing is RAF Tempsford, as it is now. Why RAF Tempsford? Well, I thought because in light of the B17 and the new SU4 updates and all that stuff coming through and all that good stuff, I'd take up this beauty, the freebie Lysander. Now, I know nothing about this other than the fact that I've always loved the Lysanders, thought they look cool. This is up on .to, you guys know that by now surely. It's 2020, it's freeware, so it's $0 and that's really, really cool. And this used to be the SOE airfield that it took off out of in World War II, RAF Tempsford. We've got the rather modern looking pilot in the back there. Strange. Now, a lot of people I remember when I was a kid. This is interesting. This is interesting because we'll come to this shortly. If I'm not mistaken, that's a variable incident tailplane, which means it could be adjusted before takeoff to allow it to accommodate stall. I could be wrong. Somebody out there in correction land, please do feel free. A lot of people I remember as a young man used to say, this was painted in Nivo because it was pre-World War II colours. No, it was actually black. Nivo might have been used on it prior to the outbreak of World War II, but to sound like a pedantic git, Nivo was phased out by 39, I think, which was that deep green. Night something ordnance orphan... No, night something orphanedness. I remember it being a really weird word and thinking, who uses that word? Anyway, let's hop in. Now, because it's freeware, let's just set our souls up, get the old look, yes, okay, yes. Alright, so here we are in the Lizzie, the famed Lizzie. Now, what do we get for our buck? I honestly don't know. I really don't know. I know it's free. You got that glowy there. But let's have a look. You got some unusual presets on the hat, predominantly around the views. Now, I don't think you can actually remove the control column, the joystick. What we do get is a flick to turn that on. Starters there. No starting magneto. Our Maggie's up here if I remember. Now, I've only poodled about turning it on, so they're already on. We're going to go lights out because these things often flew lights out if we need the dingo on. So generator full, that's about right. Hopefully we've got enough juice. We're going to go on, what do we call it, a training exercise, I guess. Flower caps. Cow flaps work. Oil heating. Cockpit heat, air intake. No, nothing special there, but it's free. So let's see if we start it. Oh, better put the handy on, eh? Okay, so let us try that again. Now, one of the things... très intéressant. Danger, evidently. Fuel valve on. Props on. Mixture. Here we go. Should be a bit. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha Now, one of the things you'll note, let's close her up, eh? How do we close the cockpit? There we go. Can we? We can. Can we? We must be able to, surely. Let's turn ourselves around here. Now what else do you get? You get the rear, you can, yep. So that's cool. Rear cockpit slides back and forth now. Why aren't you closing, you crazy kid? Okay, well, I know not my quoon. I know not. Let us find a way. Yes. Oh, there we go. That took something. There we go. So that one closed on us. Neat. Well, that was mysterious and weird and wacky. Now, of course, it's famed for its wing. The beautiful dragonfly wing. I don't know why we are in. Got our full flaps up at the moment. So, Bill Tedder and Arthur Davenport designed this beastie, and like the Fiesler Stork, Gerhard Fiesler's beastie, it was really incredibly advanced because of that wing, because of the style, because of that variable incidence on the rear tailplane. I think it was one of the first cases of an aircraft having it. Look, I don't even know if we're going to get off this old runway. It isn't a runway anymore, obviously, in case you haven't gathered. It is in fact farmland. But it was where a lot of the magic happened. And this wouldn't have been too unrealistic. Okay, we're going to brush the trees. We did it. Much like they had to do in World War II. That's what we like to see. So we're going to go on a training exercise. We're training hopefully late at night, or we're going to fly into the night, and I'm just going to push myself back. Now while we're here, let's take a look around, see what it's all become. This is north of Sandy, I think, just to maybe about 20k east of Bedford. And hugely influential airfield with the McKee and so much more besides. What are you doing to me, you kooky kid? I know what. Let's do this, let's do that. So that'll likely be Bedford over yonder. We're just going to keep throttle on. So here's where all the magic happened. Now the textures on this thing are great. I really love this. I had always loved the Lizzie. I always loved the wings and, you know, Gerhard Fiesler and stuff, and Tedder, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Harry Hawker himself used to work for Westland, but that might have been before this baby's time. Anyway, so we're just going to go for a dusk flight over, do a night flight. Now, if you'll forgive me, I'm not sure if the actual what is we looking at, peeps? Freddie Doco, rah. So to anybody looking at this, they'll just think it's a quick training flight. That's a map working. Yeah, cool. We're going to bring her over here, over the beautiful sleepy little towns. No one suspects anything. So yes, this is the Lizzie. Bristol Centaurus 20, no, yeah, Centaurus 20, pretty sure. Same donk that went into the Fokker G1, a remarkably versatile engine, braiders. Even the Hamilcar glider, not the glider, the motorised version of the JAL Hamilcar. So that would have been pretty, very popular engine, very cool engine. Cruise speed, I think around 160 mile. One of the big things, of course, was the stall properties. The landing down around 65 mile an hour, 65 on the button, I think. There we go. Now, how far over we're going to get? Where the object is to bring her down in the night on a beach. If we make it that far and do it successfully, I'll be very happy campers. How cool does it look though? It's a good looking bird. I don't know about you cats, but I've always thought the Lizzie was a beautiful aircraft. And whether it's just that, the dragonfly wings, or just the tubby little fuselage. I don't know, cute little fuselage. You want to tickle its little belly. I jest. There are actually a couple of weird and wackies with this, obviously, and all you cats will know that. The Lysander with the turret on the arse end, the 4 Brownings hanging off the back with the twin tail plane, not unlike it, the bum of a Lancaster. There's another one where it had a belly pod, the Whale, I think it was called, and that's pretty. Yeah, it was an airframe that was used extensively for training. The turreted creature had a number of names. Not the Deloitte. Was it the Deloitte? Deloitte design or something like that. Forgive me, I forget. But this is free and it's quite cool. So none of the jaggies. Quite cool on the cockpit face. Everybody wants more operativity. Everybody wants stuff you can use more. But we get what we get, and like I said, it's free, so I'm happy campers. We don't want to come over too far to the east. I want to keep it down around 120, 150. It's a beautiful. One thing I did want to draw your attention to: nice fabric on the headrest. Very cool. But do in fact the lights work? I mean, we're over England still, so are we causing any heartaches? Let's have a look. Landing lights. So we do have landing lights. That's good. Nice line, such beautiful aircraft. I don't know if Gerhard Fiesler had his own thing going, but the Lizzie certainly was a great, wonderful looking beastie. Especially in the black, it looked purposeful. Not sinister in any way, but just purposeful. It looks like the kind of aircraft that the SOE and OSS boffins would have turned around and said, yeah, let's use that. Stole properties. It looks delicate but capable. And that's a rather nice thing to be, isn't it? So what else, peeps? What else? I don't know. Work's work, life's life, bills are bills. What's on the horizon? Guess we can nudge the throttle back a bit, because we've got a variable prop on this, I think, have we? We do. Yep. We have indeed. We're going to. So let's see what she give us an RP. Give us a reference point. We haven't got a lot to work with up here, but we'll just trim her up and So what we got, see if we can get the actually bring that down some. Of course you can defy the regulations because this thing was born to fly in clouds. That was part of the whole secrecy thing. The old muffling of the sound. There we go. What do we got over here? RPM safely around 2350. 2400 boost climb. Speed in brakes. Button starts. Nice. Oh, now we've done it. Now we've torn it. No, we haven't. So how's your week going, clan? Hope you're well. Hope you're good. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to mention about this, come hell or high water, is you might not get the sounds working. In which case you can up on this is up on .to, by the way, in case your cats had cottoned onto that much. And the sounds weren't working for me. The sounds default to the beaver, and even though I've got the beaver on here, for some reason it still wasn't working. So you just copy, there's, I think, is it DJD or third page of the .to page, .to site as it currently stands. This is really nice. This is lovely, actually. I'm surprised at how cool this is. This is a really sweet little bird. What a lonely job it would have been, eh? That's why I flew it at this time of night. That's why I've actually brought this sucker up this way, because I thought, what an incredibly, one of the myriad difficult jobs, probably of any war, but certainly of World War II, where a lot of this stuff was still, well, you know, not electronically guided, not GPS guided. These people had to know their stuff, and they were long, lonely hours, cold, crappy radio silence. Here's me blathering on and on, rabbiting on about radio silence. Nice. But actually, can we bring it down between the two towns? Bring her over. No, we're just running down on them. Yeah, and if your night vision isn't up to spec, you're going to be in a lot of hurt. What was I saying? I was saying something before. I forget. Oh yes, the sounds. So yeah, third page of the .to site will take you to pull in the text and sounds. Just open up your config for CFG file with Notepad or Notepad plus. Look for your sound and sound AI lines and replace the beaver wheel sounds or whatever with the Texan sounds. He's got the lines directly, you're just copying him over. She may well be a she. Who am I to judge? Come neighbours, sit you round my table, as the old Garth Marenghi or the old who was it, Matthew Holness, the comedian, said. Yeah, and replace it with the Texan sounds and you'll be good to roll. That's how that is. So let's hear the sounds outside. I didn't even shut up long enough to take them in. You know what? That sounds fine to me. I'm happy with that. Seldom, if ever, do night flights. I did it when I was circumnavigating Australia back in 2020, but I haven't done one in 2024 to appreciate. That's one of the things have been the York & Co raised at the last update meeting, wasn't it? That they're going to do better lighting. Isn't that one of the big raves about it all? If that's the case, that's cool. That's cool. Yes. So, what else? Sim-wise, I've been addicted to that that Mackie Castoldi, the MC72. It is just a blast to fly about in. I'm having a great time with that at the moment. So, hope that's not London off in yon distance. It shouldn't be, I don't think. But either way, we're going to avoid it. Yeah, I'd say it is. It's quite massive, isn't it? Should have just flown due east. And we'll put it down on a beach either on the west coast, on the east coast here, or depending on how bored I am, or how bored you are, or how confused I am and how bored you are, or how bored I am and how confused you are, I will find a beach either here or in France, or the rate I'm going, Holland. Who knows? Or Belgium. Who knows about these things? Who knows? I might just continue to Darwin. Should have upped the wind on this, shouldn't I, really? Let's see if we can just massage the mixture back and get a little more speed off that prop as well. That's a good clip, 150 thereabouts. I'm happy with that. So what's happening in your world, clan? Has anybody got the B-17 yet? Is anybody raving about it? I don't like, I'm gonna say it now, being still something of a gamer at the age of 62, which is a weird thing to admit. I still do early access on a lot of the Steam games. Not a lot of them, not as many as I used to. But, you know, there are enough brilliant games out there that warrant it. But the idea of early access, etc., for aircraft, I appreciate it, but we're talking, and maybe I'm just not grasping the nuance of. Have we got any trim, rudder trim on this beastie? Good question. I'm going to venture to say no. We might have a wind coming down from the northeast. Yeah, Microprose. What's the GO with them? I know they've had a big relaunch. Somehow they got a big reboot, and I don't know if it was a nostalgia reboot or if it was a literal. Because remember, they were the big guns in town prior to EA and all the rest of it, and they made a run of phenomenal games, just like SSI. What is it? Strategic Simulations. Back in the day, they dominated the early days of floppy disk games, and rightly so, they made phenomenal games. But I'm wondering if it's actually bears parallels to Microsoft's own renaissance, the flight sim's own renaissance, in as much as a group of hardcore fans got together and thought, you know what, this deserves to be brought back to life. Now, if that's the case, I'm more than forgiving of them having early access for something like the B-17. Now, alas, the B-17 is not my bag. In fact, it's just aesthetics or whatever, radio overkill, in as much as media overkill doesn't interest me as a plane. Many of the circumstances do, the cruise stories do. Same with the B-24. Have I mentioned this before? Shut me up if I've told this one. There was the famed actor James Stewart. He flew them both. He flew B-17s and B-24s. He might have flown quite a few more as well. B-26 Marauders at one point, twins, maybe 25 Mitchells, etc. But he was up. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a B-17. It must have been a B-24, I'd say. And they were doing a run over a daylight run over Germany. And the courage of these people. This is probably the enduring romance of World War II, isn't it? They were civilians and they were called to war, and they did so, just as to a certain extent with World War One. I think World War One was a time of stars in the eyes and romance, though, and It took authors like John Dos Passos and arguably Steinbeck, certainly Dos Passos and Celine and Ferns, to knock the wind out of everyone's sails and say, you know what, wasn't a whole bunch of fun, don't get all excited. But World War II is a different affair. But back to Jimmy Stewart, that story in a B-24, they did one of the Augsburg runs or something like that, one of the major bombing runs, and a flak went off in front of them, and a piece of shrapnel came right up between his legs, missing his legs by a foot or so, as the story goes. And when he landed, when they got back to England safely. I believe they all survived the flight. And when he got out, and it's hard to imagine Jimmy Stewart hopping mad about anything, but he got out and he was jumping up and down, and I can't do a Jimmy Stewart, I'll try. A fella could get himself killed in one of those things. And it always killed me that he said that. A fella can get himself killed in one of those things. In a fit of anger. And I just think, wow, how Jimmy Stewart, how insanely, bravely courageous, wildly nuts Jimmy Stewart that is. So there, that's my only war story, I think. I mean, Clark Gable's got him, but Stewart was something else. Yeah, I think this is probably part of the ongoing attraction to a lot of my love for these aircraft of World War II. I've got a book on the way on a great volume, was Tony Butler with a double T. If you're after great aircraft prototypes and aircraft that didn't make the grade, there are two authors to watch out for. Tony Butler, Buttler, out of, I think he's English from memory, but he's got a run of fantastic books on prototypes and cancelled aircraft and all of that stuff. And are we losing? We're losing speed. Just heard the pitch change. Yeah, we're dropping. Come on, Bubba. Trim up a bit. Yeah, Butler is one that comes to mind. And Germany's Manfred Griel, Griehl. They're probably the two most informed researchers of interbellum and World War II aircraft I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, so many cool planes, and so many cool modifications of planes. Like Westland Aircraft, there's a run of books. I used to have them on PDF. In fact, I used to have a lot of hard copies. But they, there are a lot of prototypes built throughout that period. And like I said, the Westland Aircraft alone, I mean, this is, I think they started in 1919, or maybe possibly 1915 during the height of the war, making seaplanes under license. But they had the pterodactyl, of course, in between the wars. Armstrong Whitworth did the same thing after the war with the jet version. I forget, AW52, I think. But they're comparable to Jack Northrop's obsession with the flying wing configuration, or the Horden brothers, or Alexander Lippisch over in Germany. There was a lot of what I guess we'd now call simultaneous discovery, where they had similar minds. Perhaps they had access to each other's papers, as the great mathematicians at the time did, like Niels Bohr and Heisenberg and Einstein and so on and so forth. But I think not so much with aircraft developers, because a lot of aircraft developers actually visited each other, like the Vickers crew. Metro Vickers went to Russia. I forget who released the press clippings of the build-up of the secret Luftwaffe at Rostock in Russia. But Metro Vickers were used in Stalin to help build factories, of course, and stuff like that. They weren't the only ones. Vickers weren't the only game in town back then. So there was, I don't think there were a lot of white papers and media coverage on it, but they certainly did get together once in a while periodically to discuss the state of aircraft design. So that simultaneous invention of whether it was these, which is the full forward landing flaps on like the Fiesler Storch, and the Northrop, was it the XP71, XP79 comes to mind. Fiesler's 167, the Lysander, I don't think the Taylorcraft and the Pipers had full flaps, full landing slats. Where was I before I was so rudely interrupted? That was the other half. I forget. Oh yeah, probably aircraft design, as usual, banging on about aircraft designer engines. It's the mechanic in me. I just, you get... This is our way to stay in a state of arrested development, isn't it? Now, again, similar deal. I don't want the cockpit lights on. Wow. And this was, of course, a period where they were encouraged to eat their carrots because it helped night vision, and so it helped vision all around. But in fact, that was bollocks. It's just that they happen to have carrots, and that was one way to flog it to the kids. That being said, carrots, they're good for you. Kids, don't forget to eat your carrots. Such a great little bit. This is freeware. Beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, we would like more interoperability. There we go. I think I got the word out at last. But we get what we get, and you know what? This pleases me immensely. Immensely. So what else? Not a lot. Went and saw Paul Thomas Anderson's new film, One Battle After Another. Absolutely loved it. Like a bit of PTA, I do. I think I'm one of the few people left on the planet that loved Inherent Vice. And another Pynchon novel inspired by a Thomas Pynchon novel. So that's good. I think I'm one of the few people on the planet that really didn't like Punch Drunk Love, his most popular movie. Is it? Or is There Will Be Blood? There Will Be Blood, that's a masterpiece. Boogie Nights, another masterpiece. Yeah, he's made some great flicks. That Fellow, Magnolia, a personal favourite. Now we want to get away from the numbers, don't we? We're looking for a quiet place to land where hopefully we'll be able to see the coastline and bring her in. So this is just an exercise, folks, just to put her down and see how she looks like a bat against the night sky. Actually, that is pretty. That is kind of pretty. Let's do it that way. Can we see the rondelle very clearly? Probably not. There we go. There's our postcard moment. Okay, now the point of the exercise being, are we down towards the we are to? I think we can afford to bring her down. Just gently down. And we'll look for a place to land, hopefully without hurting ourselves, banging ourselves up too badly. And then we'll open the window, hop out, help our little marquee in, And what there were the Jedburgh, Samarkand, and who was the group over around Annecy and up in the mountains, over towards the Vosges Forest. Forget who they were, but yeah. So you had all those disparate groups trying to harness, because it's one of the many myths of that war and all others is that people actively work together, and nowhere was that less true than with the French resistance. They really often as not spent as much time fighting each other, just as their generals did prior to the outbreak of World War II, as they did fighting the Nazis. So yeah, it's a certain amount of mythology on that one, I think. But, you know, the SOE flew people in, risked their lives in little Dragonfly aircraft like this. Now this is going to be interesting. I don't recall ever doing a beach landing, and it's certainly not what you call a bush plane so much as a STOL aircraft. I really want to find out more about how that variable incidence tail plan was used, because that's really intriguing. I think they were just held in by a double cotter pin system, which is incredibly inventive for the day. You know what, if I can't put it down over there, I might just put her down, even though I'll lose points and doubtless lose your respect, and probably some of my own if I have any left to lose. Plonk her down over here where there's lots of lighting, because I'm an old man and my vision ain't what it used to be. I guess the point is that I think I wanted to reinforce with myself again how much guts it took to do this, and how so even though I'm over friendly territory, you know, we haven't got the resistance running along the length of the field, lighting up the cans of Kero or lighting up the cans of petrol or whatever. But we, you know, even with lighting, it was still would have been an incredibly daunting affair. Land was off the marshy. Sometimes there was still, you know, the grass was not mown. It was full-length forest grass. There were still hidden logs. So yeah, there would have been phenomenal moments of sheer terror. And then you had to get back up in the air and fly all the way back. And on top of that, you didn't know if the Nazis, you know, somebody was listening down below, or somebody had been tipped off, as was so often the case. So many of the flights ended up in abject failure and heartache and death because they, you know, they were a known entity before they even took off, unfortunately. Such was the heartache that they had to experience, the infiltration they had to experience. My God, how fucking, oops, pardon me please, how amazing. Now if I don't hit a woodland, then I'll be very, very happy. I'll go for a quick pass to see if there's anywhere safe to land. There's, yeah, you know what? Let's bring it back over there. Let's bring it back. Full pitch, full flying, full mix. I could put it down directly in front of me, but we're just going to keyhole it back in. So don't forget, this is just a training exercise, and we're banking around in preparation for our intrepid young adventurer who will be going in to drop weapons and whatever else. So. Wow. That'll be our Kero light right there. Incredible. We're down, people. We are down. Whoa. Oh, come on, Bubba. Holding it back. There we go. We've got her down. We have got her down. There we go. We've settled in nicely. Handy on. Turn around. Get it open for the gentleman in the back or the lass in the back. Quickly hop out to rustle everyone up. Come on, get on, get on. Haven't got all the bloody time in the world. Alright, can we close it from outside? And look at you with your bloody astronaut helmet on. We shut her up. And we return home. Alright, that's all I wanted to do, fly the Lysander. And now I've done it. I'll cut it off there. Look, I had fun doing that. I haven't done a night flight in 2024 yet. I hope you enjoyed it. You probably didn't, but I enjoyed torturing you, and that's what counts in this wide, wicked world. Listen, big, beautiful world, I love ya. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll catch you later. Bye.